Come on in. Come on in. Talk to me. If you're in already, you know I can't talk to you. I'm still trying to get in. Hold on. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Boom. All right. Here we go. Look, it's coming up. Slow internet. Am I freezing? I was having internet issues last week, which is why was that Thursday, Friday? Thursday, Friday, I couldn't get on the internet. The internet is. I think I'm back now. Are you guys on? Am I freezing? Is it slow? Hey, Pooh. Sister Yolanda, good morning. Shanti, I see hearts. Okay, hearts are good. Hearts means. Hold on, give me a second. Bishop, good morning, sir. All right, hold on. Here we go. We got it. Yes, we are connected. Let me see who's on now. All right, Sister Ford, good morning. Peanut, Sister Davis, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Miss Karen, good morning. Come on in. Come on in. Come on. Let's talk for a minute. I'm not gonna hold you long. Just want to kind of give you some words of encouragement as it relates to protest. Protest. Obviously, you guys know about that. But most importantly, I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to know that there is some good news. Matter of fact, that's the hashtag today. Hashtag good news. That's the key. Good news. Hey, Miss Charlotte. Miss Charlene, good morning, and cousin Charlotte, good morning. Both of y'all come on usually at the same time. It always gets me. Cuz, good to see you though. Definitely good to see you. Okay, Meredith, am I still freezing? Am I still frozen? I'm moving. Um, Still frozen. Man. So let me do this, because the internet is not friendly today. I'm gonna go ahead and just do the Devo, and then afterwards I'll repost it. Can we do that? Let's go for it. Listen, I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be protest or to take a protest. So clearly, you guys have been hearing the phrase protest, probably alongside riot and march. You know, all of them are the same. I wanted to kind of take the idea of protest and suggest that you can be pro a test. And when we say pro a test, it simply means that you can test to see if what is in power is proper. Because sometimes people in proper or systems that are in power, people in power or systems that are in power are not always accurate. They're not always right. They do not always have the people's best interest in mind or God's heart in mind. And so, whenever we see and or feel things like racism or injustice, when we see what is wrong being made right, then what we are allowed to do is test it so you can be protest. Here's the key. As believers, you want to make sure that while you are in protest, that you are still keeping God in mind, you are still kingdom focused, and to be both of those, you must still present gospel. Gospel in its rarest form is the idea of good news. Come on, hashtag that good news. And during times like this, we need good news, right? When racism is rampant, we need good news. When COVID is crazy, we need good news. When families, despite those two things, are still kind of in flux, and you're trying to make sure that you and your siblings, or you and your parents, or you and your spouse are still, at least speaking to each other, right? Good news is something that is necessary. When you watch the news, you'll note that it's not a whole lot of good news on. Because even news channels are built on an entertainment value and they thrive off of negativity, off of crime. They incite fear and rage, right? And some would argue when they're reporting what's true, they're reporting one side of what's true. I've seen already all of the reports of what took place in Atlanta as far as riots, but I've also seen some Facebook posts of young people, like young adults, college students, out cleaning off the graffiti and cleaning the streets up. Nobody saw that on the CNN, right? Because news kind of has a negative slant. Because I think one thing that's true is that sin is real. Because sin is real, it's all in us, and because it's in us, we see it. Because we see it, we are attracted to it. So the news presents it. I'm not trying to bash news reporters or news networks, but what I am saying is that in the same way that negative news is presented, even during a protesting of those things that are not accurate and right or just, you are designed to provide good news. That's today. And because you're designed to provide good news, I wanted to remind you that even during the protesting, you can do good news however you protest, whether it's on social media, maybe you've done some marches. I'm excited about our city, the whole 757, what we call it, the 7 cities, because on last night there was a march. We did a park and pray. I think tonight there's going to be another prayer event. There were marches on Sunday. There have been marches throughout each of the cities. So I'm excited about what's happening because people are finally standing and letting their voice be heard. Here's the key. You want to make sure that embedded in your anger and your frustration or your need for change is good news. So then the question, of course, is, well, what is good news, right? Good news is gospel. Gospel is good news. And here are at least 3 elements of it. I'm sure there are many more. I just like 3 because they're easy to remember. The first is awareness. And when we talk about awareness, what we're saying is you make aware, you create awareness of the issue. Here is the problem. The problem is you have had your knee on our necks for 400 years. The problem is we have this disease named COVID and no cure that is contagious, contagious beyond the mass, right? Problem is our communities are separated, right? That there are financial disparities within miles within the city. Problem. So you create an awareness. It is the same thing that happens with us and God. That before we could really accept God or know God, that there had to be an awareness, right? That all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. There must be that awareness. It is Adam and Eve, old school, walking through the garden. And while in the garden, God asked the question, where are you? And there had to be some awareness. So here we are, and we're naked. We have what God, who told you you were naked? Because sin had kind of come in, and sometimes we'll have signs and we'll have posts, but it's only out of anger, not to create awareness. Here's a really good question for you: who are you really trying to create awareness for? For some, it is a certain community or a certain race, or maybe it is government. Maybe it is a co-worker. Maybe you are finally becoming aware. I'm not sure, but remember, awareness is important because awareness also puts us all on the same playing field. Because it's possible for many people to be protesting and talking and living. Let me take this just out of protest for a minute. It's possible for people to be living without an awareness. It's possible for you to, have been in church all your life and not really be fully aware of why. It's possible for you to have been talking about Jesus Christ and Him crucified, stretched wide, lifted high, but not really be aware of why that is important. And so awareness is really essential because it gives purpose for protests. Awareness, but then after the awareness, there is this. What is it? After awareness, there is. It's a word I'm looking for. I want to say solution, but that's not it. It's got to be beginning with an A. Answer. There's an answer. Oh, that's important. Because what you don't want to do is create all this awareness of the issue, awareness of the problem, awareness of the challenge without also providing an answer. Here's my question. What is the solution? What is this utopic world that you picture that exists without fill in the blank? Without financial disparity, without racism, without separation and or segregation? What is this world that you want without the anger and the fussing and the cussing and the madness in your home? What is this? What is this world that you dream of that is free of disease? How does it look? Because it's possible for us to know the problem but not yet have a prognosis. And the problem with not having a prognosis or having a problem without an answer, having issues without some solution, is that even if the you're mad because of the racism, you're mad but you don't have an answer. So if something comes along that maybe even resembles answer, you won't accept it because you had not yet envisioned it. The second problem with not having an answer is if you do not have an answer, you do not have a goal. You don't have anything to work towards. And without a goal, you cannot complete, right? Without a goal, it's never over. Without a goal, you're stuck in this phase. Without a goal, there's nothing to hope for. And you got to have hope. You guys know why? Because hope, Hebrews 11 says that faith is the substance of things hoped for. So if hope is ingredient of faith and you have problems, but you don't have anything to hope for, no vision of how it's going to end, then you're operating out of fact, you're frivolously operating, but you don't have any faith. So here's the question I have for you. What does life look like on the other side of this, right? For racism, for COVID, for some of you, COVID and racism are big issues, but right now they're not the biggest for you personally, right? For you personally, you got some things going on you're trying to fix, right? Rent is still due, car payment is late, kids are going crazy. You got pain right now, you are aching. And I'm not saying that the other two are not important. I'm saying that for you, you're saying, I'm hearing all of that, but I got some other things. And the answer is still the same. No, the resolve is still the same. You need an answer. Picture yourself in the new home. Picture yourself in a reconciled relationship without the fussing and the argument, and your trust has been rebuilt. Picture your answer. I didn't start off by reading the scripture. I want to kind of hold it to the end, but before I get to this last third point, let me kind of read it. It's Luke chapter 4. Luke chapter 4, and it's really verses 14 through 21. Luke 4, 14 through 21. And here's what it simply says. The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. That's it. The Spirit of the Lord is on me to proclaim good news because that's the goal. The goal isn't just to protest. The goal isn't just to highlight, or to jump into everybody in this melody of mourning. No. The goal is to be a good news distributor. And that brings me to the last part, because after you have created some awareness, after you have come up with an answer, then you want to do what we call affirmation. You want to affirm it. You want to go back, reevaluate it, and affirm. You want to make sure that the answer is right for what you made awareness of, right? You want to affirm it. You always want to proof text when you're protesting. Yeah, you got to do that. You want to proof text when you're protesting because you don't want to get caught up in the activity of the protest without actually making sure that you agree with and know what you're protesting for. So you want to go back and affirm it. So you know what? Based on this problem, this is right. Without doubt that it is accurate unless you've tested it. And the way you test it is you got to do it. That's why God says, look, you can read all the Bible you want, but if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't matter. So he says, don't be just hearers of the word, be doers. He says, faith without works is dead. And the same is true. So some of you are saying, hey, I think we can speak truth to power. You don't know until you try. I think that protests and marches will cause some social pressure that will create change in our government. You don't know until you try it. I think that if I put on a mask and social distance, then COVID will start to kind of dissipate. You won't know until you try it. I think if I forgive my spouse, my friend, my family member, my coworker, then our relationship can be healed. You won't know until you try it. I think if I give my 10% to God, then He was going to take care of me, not just financially, but in all these ways. If I honor others, if I give more than what I'm trying to receive, all of these things, you don't know until you try it. And for someone, if I could kind of detour for a moment, that has, heard about God, heard about church, heard about Bible, and you just immediately denounced it because of some of the people that you connected to. Let me just say, some stuff you don't know until you try it. Don't knock it till you rock it. I don't even know where it came from, but let's go with it. Don't knock it till you rock it, or at least try it, attempt it, because in your attempt, you start to realize what good news is. And let me just say again, that's the idea. God does not wake you up every morning for you to be stressed. God does not wake you up every morning for you to be in pain. God does not allow you to get up every day with new mercies that make yesterday obsolete, because he wants you to relive yesterday's pain and yesterday's frustration and yesterday's worries and yesterday's obstacles and yesterday's hurt. No, every day you wake up, it's a new start. And it's a new start wherein you're able to start off with some goodness. So then how do you start off with goodness if yesterday is still on your mind, yesterday is still stressing your body, and yesterday is still deep within your thoughts? You start out with some good news. You create an awareness that there are issues, you come up with an answer, and then you try it out and affirm it. Matter of fact, if I could, let me do this again. You start out by saying things aren't that great, but then you say, but I have Jesus who makes things work together for good. And so let me try Jesus, because if you try Jesus, you'll see that your answer always handles whatever you are aware of that was an issue. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you saw that coming, but yes, Jesus is the answer every time. Hands down, Jesus is the answer. Relationships, Jesus is the answer. Finances, Jesus is the answer. Racism, Jesus is the answer. COVID, Jesus is the answer every time. And some of you are probably saying, what does that even mean? Jesus is the answer. Well, he's got this book. It's like 66 of them put in this one book. And in that book, he literally gives you solutions to everything. He'll give you like these proverbial, call them proverbs, proverbial ideas, and says, look, these things are true. Sometimes he gives you stories of other people's lives and says, listen, look at this story. And if you see this story and you're in the story, realize the same way I helped them, I can help you. Sometimes he just gives commands and says, look, here's some things you should do, and here's some things thou shalt not do. Sometimes in this book, he writes letters, and the letters are addressed to people like us, so that when we are like them, we'll know that God still likes us. Yeah. So no matter what you do, no matter what you're dealing with, you don't have to separate, right, who you are in God and who you are in race, who you are in God and who you are either ill or healed. You don't have to separate who you are in God from who you are as a man or a woman. The two can coexist, right? You can be both Christ-like and protester in whatever area of life. Hope today bless you. Hope it helps you out. And let me just say, if nothing else, God provides for us all that we need in answers if we only seek them. God, I thank you for another great moment to really just kind of share and to grow one with each other. My prayer now, God, is that you give us courage to test some things, test some systems, right? Test some people. We even want to try our spirits with other spirits so that we aren't misaligned with those who are around us. And I pray that during this testing, during this protesting, that we do create an awareness that causes people who may have been sleeping to wake up, for those who may have been blind to finally see. I pray that you do provide us answers. For faith to leap out even when we don't quite know everything that is ahead. We do trust you, and we know with our track record, with your track record, that you're able to help, to heal, to reconcile, to bring the light, to give justice. So God, give us some good news today. Give us good news to share with others. Give us good news for our own minds. Give us good news. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. You guys have a fantastic day today. Thank you guys again for coming on, and I'm gonna check and make sure the replays